Now, next up, we will be discussing self-custody solutions. Now, this is the way to make sure that you actually hold your digital assets, that you privately, securely have those. Okay? Now, point blank period, fact of the matter is, if you do not control your private keys, what you hold is in fact an IOU that someone does not necessarily have to give you. Okay, now, once again, we're not going to go super deep in this particular 101, but just understand that in the digital asset space, the only thing that actually matters in terms of ownership and control of the digital asset is that private key. So same way that back in the day, if you were a gold investor, or even if you had cash, the only thing that mattered was who actually held that gold or held that cash. The only thing that matters in digital asset land is the private key in regards to who actually controls those funds. Now, the other benefits that come with owning your private keys are transaction freedom, all right? So you can withdraw, you can deposit, you can transact with anybody at any time, 365, 24/7, so long as you control the private keys, right? Traditionally, in regular banks and legacy institutions, you can only send money back and forth on certain days. If there's a holiday, you might be out of luck. But in the digital asset space, so long as you control the private key, you can transact with anybody, anywhere, at any time, as you see fit. Now, the second aspect of this, and this is one of my favorite ones, is that it removes counterparty risk, all right? Layman's terms, you don't have to trust anybody else. If you control the private keys, you have those funds. Put that in contrast with the traditional banking system, where based on their fractional reserve lending scheme, which actually stipulates that if you were to deposit $1,000 at the bank is only legally required to hold 10% of that. The other 90% they make loans, they lend it out, they earn interest, they create financial instruments to make more money on your money. And funny enough, in 2020, Q1, the Fed actually removed the fractional reserve requirement. And so that actually means that as it stands at the recording of this 101, the banks aren't even required to hold any of your money on hand. So if everybody were to go to the bank at one time and get their money out, guess what? They're not going to have enough to give you your money. And somebody is going to be left shit out of luck. So, holding your private keys, this eliminates the need for trusting third parties, and you are in total control. Now, the third benefit is that this gives you access to institution-grade opportunities. So what do I mean? In the digital asset space, there are many instruments, products, services that you have access to that in the traditional world, the legacy financial system, you'd have to have a status as what is known as a institutional investor or a qualified investor, accredited investor, to get access to. These are things like under-collateralized or even over-collateralized loans, investments in niche product markets or alternative assets, and sometimes too, even access to venture investments, venture funds. But so long as you control your private keys, you can take that Ethereum you just bought, you can send it over to Aave, you can get yourself a over-collateralized loan, take that loan, throw it into some yield farm, right? And you can just do so many things that you would not be able to do unless you control those private keys and are able to send and deposit those funds as you see fit. So you need some special hardware to really get in the game, or software, and control your private keys. Long story short, you need a wallet, all right? And you have two kinds. You have digital software-based wallets, or hot wallets as some people call it, and then you have hardware wallets, which are better known as cold storage wallets. So let's start with the first one. Now, this is Metamask. It is a digital wallet. Now, the pros of it is it has impeccable decentralized application compatibility. It also supports thousands of assets. It allows for extra hardware security, so you can actually connect a cold storage wallet to Metamask for an added layer of security, and it allows you to easily switch between networks, meaning you can control assets on the Ethereum network, you can also control assets on the Binance network and the Polygon network. Now, cons is that at the moment it only supports ERC20 tokens. So this is any token that is built on top of Ethereum. Now, at the same time, there are different networks, but ERC20 is more of a type of token, and there are ERC20s that exist on top of the Binance Smart Chain and the Polygon network as well, but it is limited in that sense. The other downside is that it is a hot wallet. Hot meaning that it needs connection to the internet to function. And if it's connected to the internet, technically speaking, it remains vulnerable to some sort of hack or vulnerability that can only be enabled if you're connected to the internet. Now, similar product offerings include Exodus Wallet, MyEther Wallet, Trust Wallet, Portis, and Fortmatic. And if you want to download MetaMask, you simply you search MetaMask, and the website, the URL is metamask.io. You download it, and on desktop, it will install itself as a extension, and it works in Chrome, Safari, Brave browser as well. And if you are on a mobile device, you can actually download the MetaMask app. Alternatively, Exodus is also a very good app as well. Now, this doesn't work in necessarily the same way in terms of being able to connect to D apps, but it will still allow you to have control of those private keys. And some people really, really prefer this wallet in and of itself. So this is something that's really good for anything you might be holding more long term. And once again, there's a mobile version of this and there's a desktop version. And it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. Now, we have hardware wallets, okay? Now, with hardware wallets, the main benefit is that it is air-gapped, as some people call it, meaning that once you put your assets on it, you disconnect it from your computer, there's no way anybody can access that without having the physical hardware wallet itself, okay? So, pros of a hardware wallet such as the Ledger Nano S. Well, this one in particular has a simple 2-button operation. It has deep Web3 integration as well. It has a great Ledger Live software app that comes with it. And it actually allows for built-in DeFi access via the software Ledger Live. Now, the main cons is that this particular hardware wallet does not have an open source code base, meaning that their code is proprietary, it is private. And the other con is that there is limited app space to hold these different digital assets, because the way the ledger in particular works is that for each asset, so if you have Bitcoin, if you have Ethereum, you have to download an app to support those assets on the hardware wallet. So if you have a bunch of assets that exist on different blockchains, eventually you may run out of this space on the hardware wallet itself to actually manage those. Now, you can still hold it on the wallet, but if you wanted to move it off of the ledger, you'd have to make sure that that app was currently installed. Otherwise, it only can sit on that hardware wallet. So it still works to serve its purpose, and the installation of the app is very quick. I mean, these things are a few kilobytes, but nevertheless, that is a setback. Now, similarly, you can get the Ledger Nano X, and that has more storage. It also has a Bluetooth functionality, so you can use it on the go. And there's also things such as the Cold Card and the Trezor. And so if you want to purchase a Ledger Nano, I would highly, highly recommend you do it directly through Ledger, going to their website. And same thing with the Cold Card and the Trezor. Don't buy them through any third party simply because you don't know what maybe has been done, if there's been a back door placed on that from some third-party reseller. So I would always go directly to the manufacturer to buy any type of hardware wallet and to download any of these software wallets as well.